Dun, dun, dun. Hello everyone and welcome to the webinar on transferable skills. As we've just discussed briefly, today's session is going to be recorded. Please can everyone ensure that their video is switched off and that you only use first names when addressing other people to ensure that there's no way that someone watching this in the future can identify individuals. The reason that we are recording today is for a number of different purposes. Firstly, it's for internal training to make sure that we can become better at delivering webinars. Secondly, it's to provide to our funders recordings so that they know we're completing our commitments to them. And thirdly, it's for trainees who aren't able to turn up to the sessions when they're live so they can watch them back in the future and get the learnings there. We store these videos on our own secure internal Teams platform and as private YouTube videos. None of that can be accessed without our permission, and we will only store these videos for a maximum of 5 years. You have the right to choose to leave the session at any stage if you don't wish to be recorded. If you do choose to leave, we'll be happy to hold another unrecorded webinar session on the same topic to accommodate you. If you've spoken during the session and you wish the recording to be deleted, we will do so, and neither Microsoft Teams nor Springboard store any information about you, including your IP address. For any further information or to read a transcript of what I've just said, please visit the news article Understanding Webinars on your Flow dashboard. As I've now read that out, gang, I'm going to post the normal sign up link in the chat. It's just the registration where you put your name and where you're from and your email address so that we can tell who was at each session. So if you guys can fill that out in this sort of 2 seconds that it usually takes, that would be very much appreciated. And now I will hand over to Supriya. Supriya, you're up, boss.
Thanks, Ted. So hi everyone, and thank you for joining the webinar on transferable skills within the hospitality industry. I'm Supriya and I'll be going through the webinar with you for the next half an hour or so. So to get us started, can anyone tell me any industries that they can think of that use the same or similar skills to the hospitality industry? Feel free to use the chatter or just speak out loud, take yourself off mute.
Skills. So whilst I'm waiting on maybe some answers to flow into the chat, perhaps retail might be a good example.
Yeah, awesome. That is a great one.
Skills. Ooh, message on the box. Okay, so I don't have any more coming through on the chat just yet, although people might just be finishing off the starting form. So I'll give the gang a couple of seconds to type answers in and or shout answers out. Here we go. So we've got someone saying care sector as somewhere where we have transferable skills. We've got travel sector, care sector, and retail as our total now. Have you got any more for us, boss?
So yeah, those are fantastic examples, and you're right, the skills that you do gain from the hospitality industry can actually be used across all other industries too.
Brilliant.
So the aims of this webinar are to discuss and describe the skills that you've gained from the hospitality industry, to explain how these skills are going to help you when you apply for jobs outside of the industry, and finally, by the end of the webinar, you're going to be able to have the tools to put together 2 solid examples of your own transferable skills that you can use during interviews and to help secure jobs in the future.
All right, rock and roll.
Cool. So to achieve the aims, these are the things that we're going to be looking at. Does anyone have any questions so far?
I'm okay. I don't see anyone in the chat, so crack on, boss. Go for it.
Awesome. So can anybody tell me what a transferable skill is?
Give the guys a couple more seconds for the typing into the chat function if people are doing that. I suppose a transferable skill would be anything that you can use outside of perhaps the space that you learnt it in. Rahina says it's a skill that you've gained from one place and used in another.
Rahina, that's absolutely fantastic. It's exactly what I would have said. So a transferable skill is basically a skill that you've learnt somewhere and you were going to use it somewhere else.
Banging.
Awesome. So now we know what a transferable skill is. Can anybody give me any examples of specific transferable skills that are gained in the hospitality industry?
So this is transferable skills that we get in hospitality that we can use elsewhere, or can we also include transferable skills we might have got elsewhere to use in hospitality?
Either or.
Either or. Okay, cool. We've got communication skills coming in.
Brilliant.
I suppose perhaps resilience is quite important.
Yeah, that's a great one as well.
We've got teamwork coming through.
Awesome. And yeah, they're all brilliant. And so these are a few of the ones that I've come up with. So good confidence, quality customer care, fantastic communication, flexibility, the ability to multitask, excellent hygiene, strong teamwork, brilliant organisation, attention to detail, high levels of respect and patience. And all of these come from working within the hospitality industry or even doing hospitality training like you will be doing on Flow.
Nice.
So a lot.
Yeah, agreed.
Awesome. So next we're going to take a look at how to use transferable skills to help you personally in your job search and in applications. So the first thing we're going to do is, even before you start to apply for jobs, look at some roles that you might be interested in. So search for their job profile, and this will give you a list of the skills that are actually needed to perform that specific job. So say you were interested in becoming a receptionist. Google receptionist job profile, and it will come up with a list and pages of information about what's necessary to perform that job, and that will help you kind of kickstart your job hunt and get things started so that you can look at the experience that you already have and put it into the roles that you are applying for.
So if we're doing that on a job hunt, and let's say I've just out of school and I haven't got my first job yet, and I want to figure out ways to define the skills that I have that maybe I've learned outside of hospitality to use in hospitality, or perhaps I've done my first bar job and I'm moving across into the retail sector. What ways do you think there are to translate sort of life lessons into CV usable skills that we can put into sort of a key skills list at the front of a CV?
Yeah, absolutely. So a good way to do that is to brainstorm. So if you put in, for example, your experience at school, you would have just done exams. You will have had loads of experience in juggling different exams. You would be doing lots of different lessons. So you have to time manage, and that's a good place to start with. So if you can work out what your top 5 skills are from even outside of the industry and start with those, then you'll be able to create examples, which we'll go on to later on.
That's brilliant. Nice one. Thank you, boss.
No problem. So when you're looking for your potential jobs, the next thing that you want to do is, when you're on job sites, read through the job descriptions and the person specifications and see specifically what skills they're asking for. So as you're looking through the job description, there will be lists of the skills that are necessary to complete that job, and you want to look at those and relate what your experience is to what the job advertiser wants. As you apply for the jobs, be sure that your transferable skills are written clearly on your CV. So next we're going to take a look at using transferable skills in interviews. As we've already discussed, at application stage, before you interview, you should be sure to prepare some clear examples of when you've shown the skills needed to carry out the roles. We'll go on to looking at how you do that slightly later on. But by using examples, you show where you've previously used the skill that they're actually looking for, and you show your interviewer how you approach situations that you've worked in and how you'd work well in the job that they've advertised. So you're painting them a picture, basically, of what you're capable of.
Awesome. Can I put you on the hot seat for a second, Captain?
Yeah, of course.
So if you were going into a job interview, I know that you've got a really extensive career in hospitality, and I'm sure that you've not only interviewed but been the interviewer as well. What kind of transferable skills would you like to see people talk about when they were coming in for hospitality roles when you've been a hirer?
So for industry roles, I always like to highlight customer service. I think if you've got great customer service and you've got examples of where you've used fantastic customer service, then you will always be able to find a job in industry because it's very people-centered.
Okay.
So
and you're saying use an example is the way to go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
Cool. So as you're painting your picture for your interview and you're giving them your example, you've got to be sure to give them the whole picture. So don't just say things like, on this job, we did this, this, and this. You need to make sure that your interviewer knows what you're talking about, because you could be talking about somewhere that's called the Hut, but your interviewer would never know what that was because they don't work in your environment. So steer away from shorthand words and explain your examples fully. Cool. Does anybody have any questions?
Let me check the chat. I don't see anything in the chat, but if something pops up, I'll let you know, Captain.
So we've spoken lots about preparing examples of transferable skills, but how do you actually do it? It's all good and well me saying you need examples, you know, you need to be able to relate your skills to a new job, but how do you actually pick out your examples and pinpoint what you say to your interviewer? And what we use is the STAR technique. Does anybody know what that stands for and what that means?
No, I have to admit I don't. I'll give the gang a couple of seconds to fire some answers into the chat, but this is a new one to me, so I've got my pen and pad out now. Oh, so we've got another no from the chat. It looks like maybe we're outside of the knowledge. Fill us in. What have you got for us, boss?
Awesome. So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. And by using this framework, you're able to give a clear and detailed example of your transferable skills to your interviewers. So you're setting the scene. You're telling them where you were or the issue that you're facing, and that's the situation. You then are telling your interviewer what you needed to do to overcome the situation that you were facing, which is the task, what you actually did, which is your action, and what the outcome was, which is the result. So it's just a good way to structure your examples of your transferable skills.
Okay.
So as we said, the STAR technique will help you to create a rounded answer to interview questions that allows you to showcase your experience clearly. Cool. So now we're going to take a look at how we actually use the STAR technique in a practical example. So to set the scene, you're a bartender who's just been made redundant as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak. You need to find a job as soon as possible. So you've identified in your own evaluation that you have excellent hygiene, and you've decided to apply for roles as a cleaner, and you're now putting together your example to showcase your excellent hygiene. So if we start off with the situation, in this we're going to set the scene for the interviewer, and we're thinking of examples that relate to excellent hygiene. So your situation could be that in my previous role, where I worked as a bar thack in a busy central pub, I noticed that there was an increase in fruit flies in an area that a newer team member was working. The next thing you want to do is the task. So you want to show, the task here is that you wanted to show the new team member how to clean down well and ultimately to get rid of the fruit flies. So the task is this new team member had not been shown the appropriate way to secure bottles and clean down their section, and the juices were attracting fruit flies. You then want to go on to your action. So here you'll show what you did to fix the task. And what we did was, in order to reduce the number of fruit flies, I showed the new team member how to appropriately store, clean, and keep their work area hygienic. I explained that their way of cleaning was not working well and created a checklist for the new team member to help them to remember each of the steps I'd shown them and promote excellent hygiene behind the bar. And then finally, you want to round up your example with a result, and you want to explain what you did and the ultimate outcome. So the result in this situation would be, after 2 days of the new team member adhering to the checklist, carrying out the appropriate cleaning procedures, there was a dramatic reduction in fruit flies, and the team member felt a lot more in control of their area and kept their area hygienic. So what you've shown by using the STAR technique in the situation, the task, the action, and the result is you will have shown your interviewer instances where, though you've never been a cleaner before, you've used excellent hygiene in other roles, and you've been able to promote excellent hygiene through your other roles, and so you'd be able to do it in your new job. Does anyone have any questions?
No, but that's brilliant. I'm just writing down for my own recognizance all of the different things or qualities that I think that example has shown. And so far I've got like teamwork, leadership, organization, planning. Yeah, there's loads in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll find as well, as you go through with all of the different transferable skills or your own personal skills, as you create these examples, you'll be able to fit in different skills, and it just gives you a great way to bulk out your answers to interview questions and score the points, and ultimately helps you in getting a job as well.
Brilliant.
So I've got a little bit of a task for you, if you so please, but using the STAR technique, I'd like you to identify 2 of your own examples of transferable skills that you've gained in your life and experiences. So this can be in the hospitality industry or outside of it. You can use the list there if you'd like, and I'll leave them up and you can copy them down. But once you've created your STAR examples, we can go through them. If you want to send them to your program manager, they'll be able to help fine-tune your examples for the best possible result. So I'll leave those up there for a little bit and let you copy them down.
Cool. Okay, so is it to identify 2 examples for each of these qualities, or I've identified 2 examples that would go that you think you could use in almost any interview that are really strong?
Identify 2 examples that you think are best for you. So if you think that you've gained good confidence, but you can identify an example of an instance where you gained good confidence in another work environment or while you're at school, then pick that one and then pick another one.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. That's really good. Can I ask, do you have any experience of utilizing transferable skills yourself in job interviews? Could you give us perhaps an example from your own experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did a lot of work in restaurants, and then I ended up getting a job in an HR office, which was very, very different. So for me, it was strong teamwork, which was something that I paid particular attention to. So if I just jump back to the STAR technique here. So if we're thinking about good teamwork, a situation that I would always use would be I was in an environment where people weren't necessarily getting on with each other. My task was then to mold that team together and get everyone to work well. And what I did to do that was I encouraged, so the action that I used to do that was I encouraged working amongst teams. I made certain people responsible for certain things. So in order for someone to, so if someone needed to get a drinks order, they had to go to a specific person, and then this got the team talking. The result in that would be that the team had to get to know each other and they had to kind of integrate in order to get a job done.
Brilliant. So you sort of forced a sort of cross ways of working, so everyone had to use each other's skills in order to complete lots of different tasks, rather than allowing people to just go off and do things one on their own. That's
yeah,
really
absolutely.
cool.
And it pulled everyone together, and that's kind of the overall outcome.
Brilliant. That's really cool. Thank you.
So did everyone manage to get those down, the examples that I had there?
I've got 7 of them. I need 4 more. I'll be 2 seconds, just in case anyone else is doing it. I tell you what, I will. Wonder if I can post them in the chat, but I can't copy from your screen. I just tried to highlight and copy and paste from your screen, which was a bit daft of me, but we'll pretend that didn't happen. I've got 11 for 11.
Awesome. Cool. And I guess this brings us to the end. So we've been through, discussed and described what a transferable skill is and what kind of transferable skills are gained from the industry. We've explained how these skills will help you when applying for other industries as well as the hospitality industry, and we've covered how to effectively highlight transferable skills at interview and the STAR technique. So if you wanted to go away and work on your examples and send them through to your program manager, I'll make sure that all of the program managers are aware that you'll be sending those through, and then they can help you fine tune them for the best result.
Brilliant. And for anyone watching in the future who needs the contact details for their program manager, if you go to the Contact Your Program Manager article on the Flow page, then you will find them there.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions?
I have lots, but I will give the gang a few moments to type any of theirs into the chat. But as usual, I've maybe got a few. Whilst people are typing, perhaps I'll ask one of mine. There are going to be transferable skills that are common and transferable skills that are perhaps a bit more uncommon. For instance, teamwork might be quite a common transferable skill for people to write down, as you can get that playing sports or working in volunteering or from almost any job role or employable role. But perhaps leadership might be a bit of less common transferable skill for everybody to have. Do you think that sending through, or do you think that highlighting transferable skills that are common or uncommon is perhaps the strongest way to go?
I think you should highlight your skills in accordance to the roles that you're interested in. So when we discussed looking through job profiles, I think if you work out exactly what you want to go into and you're more passionate about what you want to go into, once you've worked out what's needed to do that job, you can tailor what transferable skills you showcase in interviews and in applications through there, because you will know then what they're actually looking for.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's it. I just realised you guys could probably hear me making notes and talking to myself because I'm not very good at muting myself. Apologies for that. I'll stop muttering. Give the gang a little bit more of an opportunity to type in. Thank you very much, boss. That was brilliant. I'm going to ask you our classic end of webinar question. So if I had knocked myself on the head and fallen asleep, or my mind had drifted and I hadn't heard anything you've said in the last 25 minutes, half an hour, and you had 30 seconds to round up your top tips for us, what would your top tips be for someone listening to this webinar about transferable skills?
Okay, so my top tips would be definitely first look up and work out what jobs you would be interested in, and take a look at job profiles to find out what the skills are. My second tip would be work out what your own skills are, and create lots of examples using the STAR technique to help you in interview processes. Those
Brilliant.
are
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's lovely. Brilliant. Very well condensed. Very nice. Wonderful. I don't see any questions coming through, so it looks like we are good to go. Thank you very much, Captain. That was an excellent little session on transferable skills. We've got some thank yous coming through on the chat. I'm going to pause the recording just there. So for anyone listening in the future, thank you very much for listening, and please feel free to visit the Join a Webinar page to see what's coming up for the rest of the week, and you can listen to some live ones, and I'll pause the recording just there.